What are things dreams talk about? All the truth from the sleep doctor. I want to say that we have different truths. The sleep doctor, the psychologist, the psychiatrist, and also all possible interpreters of dreams, white magicians from the seventh, so to speak, seventh knee, and so on and so forth. And let's figure out whose truth is still more truthful. Watch this video to the end, and I will give you advice on what to do from a health perspective if you have a vivid dream. Indeed, a number of patients who come to me, besides their medical problems, tell me about their vivid dreams. I always say, dear friends, let's first determine what a vivid dream is. For example, I dreamed that I went to work tomorrow. Is this a vivid dream? A person says, well, what kind of vivid dream? I go to work every day. This is just a reality that is given to us in sensation, as they say in philosophy. I mean, wait a minute. This is what we dreamed. Did I dream the future? Well, seems like it. A reverse situation. Let's say I dreamed that I went to work, started walking, and a car hit me. I went out, it hit me. Well, yes, like a prophetic dream. Well, listen, first of all, unfortunately, we have such a number of traffic accidents that we have only 25,000 people, touch wood, of course, die on the roads, and how many get injured? We have hundreds of accidents every day just in Moscow when pedestrians suffer one way or another, but thank God, not severely. That is, this is a possible situation. Moreover, maybe for a month before this, I was jaywalking at an inappropriate place, and my brain was telling me, well, dear friend, you are an idiot. Go to the crosswalk, you might get hit by a car. It implied something about this. Turns out this is merely some sort of analysis and prediction. And when we have a low probability forecast, well, let's say, yes, a car might hit me, and it happens. We perceive low probability as something like a fluke, a freak accident. A high probability forecast that I will just go to work tomorrow because I regularly do. One may believe that if it's routine, then a prophetic dream isn't prophetic. This is the first situation. The second situation. A man tells me, I remember in my first year, I dreamed that I learned ticket number 5. I pulled it out and passed the exam with a 5 and only learned 1/5 ticket. Okay, but there is just a theory of probability. If a person has, say, 100 tickets and he learned one ticket number 5, then with a probability of 1%, he could pull out this 5th ticket. Yes, it's a low probability event, yet the person thought it was a pipe dream. Third option, once I was at some talk show with a ballerina, we performed together, and she says, imagine I had a pipe dream when I was either 5 or 6 years old that I perform on the stage of the Bolshoi Theater. I say, okay, what were you doing at 5 years old? She says she practiced ballet for 10 hours daily. I say, listen, this is not just a dream, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Well, more precisely, your lofty idea that you were striving for, you achieved it. Well, yes, there was a chance that maybe you wouldn't perform at the Grand Theater. There was a chance that you would, but you strived for it. And in general, it's just a sequence of actions in which a person thought, so, I need to become a ballet dancer at the Grand Theater. And then simply accordingly, this idea acted. I'll say this, if you dreamt something about the future, it's understandable that we have some illogical things appear in our dreams at night. That is, we can fly and perceive it as absolutely adequate. We can, for example, do some absolutely things that we can't do in a sane mind. By the way, this is how openings are done. Mendeleev came up with his system because he couldn't conceive it in a conscious state, but when he had some kind of freedom of thought, he came up with this system. That is, a lot of things were invented by man in a dream, although on the other hand, of course, far more inventions were still made by man in a conscious state, when he just thought, predicted, and did. If you believe in dream things and they come to you, give this video a like. But there are a bunch of people who dreamed of flying tomorrow and the plane crashed. And they didn't get on, listened to the dream thing, and the plane crashed. Here, Hitler once had a dream. He dreamed that a shell was falling into the bunker. He jumped out and a shell fell into the bunker and killed everyone. But why would a man suddenly dream about war that a shell hit? A man is generally afraid to fly. For instance, he dreams about a plane crash. He says he won't take the plane there. He didn't go, acknowledging the unfortunate reality that planes sometimes crash. And, it's also just a commonplace. most often a coincidence. Another situation. Well, imagine, okay, you agree on some important meeting with your favorite girl and you have to fly to her, yes, but you call the next day and say, you know, I had a dream, my dear, that I get on a plane, the plane crashes, and therefore I will not get on the plane, and the plane flew beautifully. What will the girl think of you? Another very interesting situation with dreams. After all, listen, this is one of the most frequent requests on the internet. Dream books from some authors, from other authors. But I like to compare dream books of today and say a century ago. There, I don't know, Wales trees Zarbatyushka revolution. Now it's artificial intelligence or something like that. Moreover, I once found, you know, such a dream book for Rublev's wives on the ruins. Naturally, Rublev's wives' dreams differ from those of Mitishchi's wives. And probably Lamborghinis or Maseratis hardly ever come to Mitishchi's wives in their dreams. But that, of course, is funny. In fact, this is complete nonsense. To a certain extent, you can make so-called personified dreams. This is a well-known described situation when, for example, I was reading in one of the works when a child dreamed he was walking in a daisy field, a dog bit him. And every time he consciously in a dream or somehow feels danger, he dreams of a daisy field. For example, a person comes to work. We perceive 80% of the information non-verbally. That is, it does not reach our consciousness, but the subconscious evaluates it. A man sat at the table. His papers were arranged in a certain way. Now they're slightly different, and the brain noticed this. Consciously, the person understood nothing. But there might be competitors, law enforcement, someone else could have rummaged through these papers. And this person dreams of a clover field at night. In this sense, a person might wonder what this dream is about. To analyze, make some decision, show some caution. Because he understands that this is his brain signaling him about some danger. In particular, this, by the way, happens in such things in dreams when a person says, for example, that I had a dream half a year before I developed a tumor, that a dog bit my stomach, for example, and then the person got stomach cancer. Indeed, when the brain falls asleep and begins to disconnect from the surrounding environment, begins to look inside the organism, regulate the organs of the system, immunity, and so on, then it can catch some of these impulses from the organism, that somewhere there is already cancer developing. And to signal this to the person in dreams in some, so to speak, images. But also, dear friends, go to the doctor, get a gastroscopy, and see what might be wrong with you. But make some more or less logical decision. I've already talked about different dream catchers that you need to be very careful with. But there are also sensible books about sleep. And I recently wrote a book about insomnia and stress, about stress and insomnia. There may not be dream stuff there, but there are very useful recommendations on how to deal with stress, how to improve sleep, and 12 steps to healthy sleep, especially now when such a stressful situation. In the description to this video, there is a link to this book. Be sure to read it. Déjà vu effect. There is a theory that you had a dream and why you are experiencing déjà vu because you have already seen this. Déjà vu is a well-known described phenomenon that for some reason draws the whole picture. And a person might just have some red zone. He saw it and he once dreamed of a red zone and he draws this picture in a dream just around this red zone. Well, some trigger, yes, and sometimes it's just a mental representation. That is, the person drew some picture for himself. Well, he thought about something, dreamed, and so on, imagined somehow, and then in reality some element coincided, and the whole picture was drawn. And the person thinks, so I've been here somewhere, I've seen something like this, I've already dealt with this, but in fact, it's a well-known psychological deviation, or let's say deviation. Although what deviation? Well, there's nothing scary about it. Already seen, already heard. If, of course, it's not within the framework of some psychiatric problems at all, well, there's nothing scary and good that you can say, you can rejoice that you have such an image. That is, I understand correctly, that there can't be such a thing. That I've exactly dreamed of the same thing. And here we had it. Or is it just unreal to check? This, you understand, is unreal to check. If we could record a dream on a videotape, then we could later verify your dream. and what you really saw compare. So, like some analogy, you dreamed of some green devils, you're a fool, and you dreamed of the Virgin Mary, you're a saint, but who's to judge? You understand how to understand what is real there, what is unreal, because it's all a person's imagination, and everyone thinks what they want. So there is still a chance that this could be a dream, right? Well, when they tell me no, I still believe in dream things. Dream things definitely exist. And you, doctor, how can you not believe this? You are, well, I'm not talking there. Let's not get into religion, yes. Here I recall academician Ginsburg. He was such a militant atheist. Guests came to his country house, and he has a horseshoe hanging over the door. He says, listen, you don't believe in all this superstition. He asserts, my disbelief doesn't negate its existence. So here, comrades, believe in things, believe. But once again, I want to give you advice at the end, if you had a prophetic dream, what to do in this situation, but still considering there is no sane sense. Think logically. There's a good saying by an Englishman that if you dream that horse number 6 wins in a race, go and put a little money on that horse, but don't bet your house on it. That is, in this sense, you always need to include some common sense. In general, I'll tell you, I often have to deal with this, not just because people come and tell about seeing things in dreams, but with serious consequences for patients who went to various fortune tellers and predictors with these things and dreams. And they are usually good psychologists. They can convince a person of something. They say, so you had a dream, so you dreamed that the crow flew by? Oh, this man changes you. This is your daughter, soon to leave home. The man begins to fear. And usually these are such emotional people, maybe unstable, believing in some kind of various external forces. They really start to think that the husband therefore might change. Remember, we discussed self-fulfilling prophecies. This wife starts to follow this husband, check his phone, I don't know, call, where are you? So listen, with such a life, any husband would run away in the end. And then she will say, well, yes, of course it has already happened. Probably it was a forecast. In truth, she drove him to this situation. No matter what happens, these predictors and fortune tellers say that everything is terrible, that karma needs to be cleansed, that some rhythms are disrupted, then some rituals begin, and this poor unfortunate man is always expecting some unpleasantness. As the saying goes, expect it and it will come. And when a person comes to me already in such an emotional burnout, in a state of anxiety, depression, in the fact that everything is lost, and sometimes it's not up to the sleep specialist to deal with their issues with us, but to refer them to a psychiatrist and treat the anxiety depressive state of neurosis. Therefore, I strongly advise you to approach any matters with us with a healthy mindset, even if you believe in them. If you had a dream that saved your life or somehow allowed you to win $1 million in the lottery, or something else joyful happened in your life thanks to a prophetic dream, write in the comments. It will be interesting to look at both me and maybe other readers, viewers, to start some discussion on this topic, how dreams influenced you.